Hi, and welcome to another edition of Hey Coach. I'm your host, John Messina. With me today is a very special guest, the new County Athletic Director, Peter Crespo from Fort Pierce Central. Welcome, Pete.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
This time last year, would you think you'd be in this position?
No, I did not.
You didn't think you'd be in this. So those grays on your chinny chin
Yeah.
are getting grayer and grayer, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm proud of you. You know, I have known you since you were at Port St Lucie High School as a student, and I'm very proud. And, you know, we were close when you had the great wrestling program. Let's go a little bit in your background, Pete. Where did you go to? You know, I know you went to Port St Lucie High School. And
I went to Fort Pierce Central as a freshman, but
Okay.
Elementary, middle, and junior high was Hillsborough County.
Really?
And I came over from the Brandon area.
Okay.
So, and then we came over for high school for Central 1 year, 3 years at Port St. Lucie,
All right.
then 2 years at Indian River, and then Central Florida, University of Central Florida.
Now, in the Brandon area, I guarantee you picked up the wrestling there.
Yeah, I did learn a little bit of wrestling at the Brandon camps,
Okay.
and my one brother graduated from Brandon, the other one went to Armwood.
Wow.
So I would have went to Armwood.
That's big schools over there.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you a question. What made you go into coaching? Or teaching first? Okay.
Teaching first. I wanted to be, started off looking at engineering and then
Really?
accounting. And my senior year, I was Miss Boren
Right.
asked me about a teaching scholarship. And I always loved sports since I was young, playing
Okay.
football at 7 all the way through high school. So I wanted to coach, just, you know, and at that particular time, you know, it seemed like I was really good in mathematics, so I figured math and coaching, and so I applied for the scholarship, and I won, you know, got the scholarship.
That's
so
great.
that paid for my 2 years at Indian River.
Okay. Was there any coach that influenced you into coaching?
I've had several. Carty was
John Carty.
Yeah, John Carty was a good coach for football, and then for wrestling, you know, I would have to say John Leonard.
Yes.
Yes, and Harry Williams.
Yes.
Yep, and you know, those guys you know, really motivated me a little bit.
All three of them are great role models. I mean, the 1 year Harry came over to Centennial and worked with us, he just took that wrestling program and won the district tournament. And 1 year, I had great respect for Harry, for Benita, and I taught with John Leonard. John taught the law over at Port St. Lucie High.
And then won Centennial. Yeah.
And Coach Carty always had a smile on his face.
Yeah, Coach Carty.
Always had
Exactly.
a smile on his face, you know. And now, how many years you have been at Fort Pierce Central as the AD?
This is my 4th year as athletic director.
Now you got the big job.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're the county athletic director, what is that role? What do you see yourself in that role?
I see myself as somebody's going to follow the rules and instill, you know, sportsmanship and make sure the county's heading in the right direction, and just oversee, you know, all the athletics. So, or, you know, just to monitor recruiting and other aspects of, and hopefully the growth of St. Lucie County athletics.
Yeah. We'll get into recruiting in a little bit, because that's not just in high school anymore.
No.
You look in college and the way these kids are transferring. What do you think your biggest challenges as a county AD?
The county AD, just making sure all the teams are, you know, on a level playing field. You know, making sure everybody's, you know, they're doing what they're supposed to do, doing everything right, following the rules, and just you know, make sure everybody representing St. Lucie County in a good manner.
I would say about 7-8 years ago, when I was an athletic director, in, you know, my later years. We found out that the Florida legislature was trying to push this through where the kids can transfer to any school you want, okay? Now, basically, if I'm not mistaken, there's just 2 rules in order to transfer. Number 1, it's got to be opening. And number 2, you got to provide your own transportation, okay? Now, each county and sometimes each school has their own set of rules on what is filled, if they're filled or not. It makes it tough. It makes it tough on you. It does not create a level playing field. I know back then there was about 8 or 9 of us, and your predecessor, Jay Stewart, was one of our group of athletic directors, that we went to the state legislatures and we said this to them. And they came back and said, it's not an athletic rule, it's an academic rule. Which, you know what, as a parent, you could see that. You want to go to a better school. But we knew sooner or later this was going to be an athletic, you know, an opening for athletics. And now kids are transferring. sometimes they're able to transfer for a season, I don't think in St. Lucie County, but then come back to their original school after playing a sport at another school. You know, so that kind of causes a problem right there. But how do you try to put a lid on this?
Well, it's within the last year or two, it's increased a little bit.
And it's going to increase more.
I agree. We haven't had multiple sport, you know, where you transfer from when they transfer from one school to another school for two, in school for 2 different seasons. But we have usually you'll get some of it before school starts or right after the semester. We just have to do, you know, I just have to follow in, and the other ADs have to get together and monitor it and make sure if a kid does transfer, it's the correct way and not do just the athletics.
Right.
And that's the hard part. It's just following up and doing, you know.
The high school association is not going to back you up on too many of these things because they panned it off on the state legislature. So it's county to county, right?
Yeah, each county has different rules. In our county, the higher end, the more populated high schools are closed. Yeah. So it's a little bit, you know, tougher to get into Treasure Coast, Centennial, and Central.
Yeah, and you know, all we want to do is keep everybody on the same playing field.
I agree.
And that makes it easier. Another big challenge I would think for you is safety issues. And I know years ago we were able to afford trainers here, which is so important. And you see throughout the nation, you know, they always talk about football, but it's many other sports too. That young football player that passed away at Maryland, Sebastian River, has had 2 athletes pass away for different things. I mean, how do you educate, I would say, your coaches and probably educate, you know, your principals too in each school throughout the county about safety issues?
Well, you know, we do follow what state protocol has, which they increased it, made it more difficult, or more rules coaches have to follow. They currently have to, you know, watch 3 classes and then turn in. For our school, we make them turn in certificates and make sure each certificate has the coach's name on it in the correct month. And so, you know, you got the heat stroke class, the cardiac arrest, and the third one's the concussion.
Right.
And so, you know, as far as football games, we do now get trainers to cover our football games and some of our major events like the wrestling tournaments and some other activities.
Yeah, I was watching, I guess, the Boca Raton Bowl on Tuesday. Young man went down and they thought it was a spinal injury. They must have had, I'm not making this up, 15 trainers and doctors out there within, say, 1 minute. You know, just taking care of them. It's a scary issue, and I know you know from wrestling, and I know how you were with wrestling, how safety was always first with you. Besides the concussion, which is, you know, that's above a coach to say, hey, that kid has a concussion. That's not a coach's job. You know, my thing, especially my last few years, somebody got hit anywhere in a head injury, you're done. You're done, you're going to the doctor, you're out of the game. But since we're practicing football in August, the dehydration, that's a major, and also, if I'm not mistaken, in May too, right?
And we also, previous county athletic director Jill, she Jill Willett purchased a bunch of tanks for every school to have them now. So we do have tanks if somebody overheats.
I used to buy those babies. I used to run down to Walmart and buy the little baby swimming pools on that. We had one that actually, you put the ice in and it slid right through it.
And at Central, we had a couple previously too. So we've had a couple. Now you know, it's so and the coaches are aware of where everything's located, and we do the emergency plan, which we have used at Central before. But I understand, you know, it's you never know. And concussions, that's why it's nice about having a certified trainer at the games, so they can make that call.
And you got to emphasize to your student athletes, to be honest with you, a lot of times you don't know if they get hit. You don't see it. They have to be honest with you, and that's where you have to have a frank talk with them. Soccer is another one. A lot of times, action for soccer is away from the ball. Nobody's looking if 2 people collide, and you know they got to be honest on that. And I think the officials are told now, if I'm not mistaken, that if they see anything, they just stop the game
and take them out of the field.
Take them out of the field on that. But again, it goes to education, and just like teachers are educated every year, coaches got to be educated. Times have changed. I always, and I told you I'm going to be going up to the FHSA in January for a meeting, and I'm going to talk to them about, it's nice having the videos. It would be better if there was mandatory classes. Just like teachers have to go to classes. I mean, years ago we were able to have the one full day. I know Jay was able to push it through the one full day of coaches in service. And it wasn't like watching movies. You actually broke up, you went to classes.
And we had the FHA representatives there too.
Yeah, and the same thing when the ADs, I know we did a seminar over at Centennial a few years ago, and I was talking to the ADs about, how do you teach coaches to coach? Well, the first coach that says, I know everything, I don't want to even talk to you, it's just sometimes the young coaches nowadays think they know, but times have changed, okay? So that leads me to the point, as a coach, and you were an excellent coach for many, many years, what do you think is the biggest change in the student athletes in coaching them over the years?
Oh, that's a tough question. Well, a lot of them don't want to do the fundamentals.
Okay.
And let's use basketball, for example.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to shoot the three.
Right.
And they forget how to shoot a mid-range jumper or a middle-range jumper, which is, you hit 2 of those, it's better than the 3.
Oh, I'll
so
give you a better
percentages.
one.
Free throws.
Assist.
Assist.
People
free
don't
throws,
know what assists are.
Basic fundamentals. In this generation, if you can teach basic fundamentals and your team is fundamentally sound, you will win the majority of your games.
Right. I mean, that's if you watch a high school game and then go to a college game and then go to a pro game. I mean, there's a lot of one-on-ones in the pros and the college. But there's assists. High school, I don't think people believe in assist anymore playing, Another issue with the student athletes today is they want to know why. Okay? All right, I want you to do this. I mean, when I went back, and I always tell the story, when I went back and started helping over at Martin County, and I'm going through some hitting drills, and I explained it to one of the better players, and he said 3 words to me, or 2 words to me that really I haven't been heard said to me in a long time. It was, I know. Okay? Okay, you know. So then the next day, I was kind of like fuming and everything, and I was talking to the other coaches. Our good friend Mike Lindgren was with me. I says, okay, you know, now you explain it to the rest of the team. Okay? I think that's the biggest difference. And it's just that as a coach, you're a teacher, and you got to adjust. You got to adjust to the times. So now with the kids nowadays, sometimes you got to explain it to them. It's not like, hey, just, do this and do this, but let them explain it back to you. And let them know that, That's why I know we were talking before, putting together coaches in service, trying to get people. Another thing that we did down in Miami years ago, before the football season, all the football coaches got together and they would rotate schools and they'd bring the officials in and they'd have pizzas and they'd talk about the different rule changes and they're different for each sport. Try to get the officials and the coaches on the same wavelength.
And they've started that this year, which is new. So every sport has a meeting before the year with the officials.
See, that's
and so
terrific.
they can have communication before the season starts.
Right.
And this is the first year they actually put that in place.
That's great.
So I went to a couple of the meetings, and it's you get to.
And then if somebody has a question, that's the time to ask. And then for the officials, these are the rules we're going to enforce. I would just think, for example, look at the football, look at the targeting rule. Okay. Now, that could be interpreted many, many different ways, but you need your officials group who covers your whole area here, right? The Treasure Coast officials cover from Martin County all the way up to Vero, right? So you're going to get them most of the game. But what are you guys going to emphasize? Baseball, basketball, how do I talk to the official when I dispute a call? Don't go running out there.
Exactly. The proper etiquette.
The proper etiquette on that. Same thing goes with the officials, how they're talking to the kids. Another factor that's, I think, has changed over the year is, for good and for bad, is parent involvement. Okay? Now, I know as county AD, you don't only hear from your school, you hear from everybody else's school. Okay? And you always say, all right, you're going to have a parent meeting beginning of the year, this and that. But what does everybody do at the parent meeting? They nod, we're going to do this. It's when it affects their son or their daughter. But I always felt, and I want to hear your opinion on this too. Coaches have to listen to parents. They don't have to agree with them, but that's their son or daughter. Now, we always had the rule, if they come in and talk about playing time, you listen to them about playing time. You don't have to do it. How do you feel about that?
Well, I like the 24-hour rule and
Yes.
have them so that way neither the parent or the coach is a little upset.
Right.
Never approach a coach after the game. Wait, schedule a meeting, and then
Yeah.
usually sometimes I'm in the meeting with the coach,
Right.
and we'll sit and listen to the
Right.
parent, and then respond,
Right.
and we'll keep it all professional, and that's the way it should be. And then you try to if they have strong points, you follow through and do the best you can.
And sometimes people just want to be heard. Just like that. I think one of the biggest problems that I ever had with parents when I was AD was after games. Okay, that's why I always emphasized my guys and Coach Kelly, who just passed away this year. He did most of my games with me. We had a rule. You're done. Get on the bus and go. Whatever you want to say to your players, you can tell them on the bus. Because as you're talking to them, what are you doing? You're making yourself feel good. You're talking to them. The parents are stewing around, this and that, I kind of tell this story. I had a good friend down in Miami, a baseball coach. And he was in a high school, inner city high school. We had a really good team. But the field was, parents are right on the field to this and that. And they're yelling and screaming, and we played them every year. That didn't bother him. And I said to him, how do you do this? These parents are right behind you. They're right behind the ticker. He said, Messina, come down when you're not playing me. Just watch me. Now, you can't do this anymore, but he had a great line. Kid's playing second base, he'd make an error. He'd look in the stands at the parent and say, what's going on? What's going on? The kid would hit a home run, he'd look at the parent and go, like
Thumbs
that.
up, yeah.
After the game, if a parent came up to him, he said, I'm glad you're here. You know why? Because you're going to help me get your son to be a better player. He'd throw it right back on him. It was great psychology, But sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't work. But I think, parents got to be educated too. Now today, and I know you know this a lot better than I do, is national signing, okay? Great number of athletes in this county, in this area, can sign. Everybody can't get a scholarship.
No, there's different levels. There's different phases. Division I, and it's tough, man. In certain sports, it's very tough.
It's very tough.
And that's why we have some certain schools bring in that one
Jack
that comes in and does the class.
Yeah.
Yep. And and tells them how hard it is to get a Division I football scholarship or any sport.
Any sport. And the biggest thing now, much more than when I started being an athletic director, is your academics.
Oh, that's key.
It's you don't have 2.5, you don't have your SATs, your ACTs up there. You're not getting it.
No, you need a 3.0.
Right.
You want to have a good test
you
score,
want to have a 3.0.
and you want to have the hard classes on your schedule. You want to be all around, and those are the kids that get looked at quick.
And you know this, and I knew this when I was a coach. Every time I had a college coach come in and talk to me as an athletic director, he would never say, tell me about his prowess on the field. He would say, John, what kind of kid is this? What are his parents like? Is he going, let me see the head guidance counselor and things like that. There's so many more things that I think parents got to be educated to. The FHSAA has made many changes. Okay, and I know you're nodding yes and no, and some are good and some are bad. Can you explain some of the new changes that they have made that's going to affect this county?
With the recruiting?
Well, not just the recruiting, but just, the different systems.
Oh, you mean the playoff system?
Yeah.
They're gearing to all the sports to be all the team sports to use the same system we currently use in football.
Okay.
And we used to have it when I was in high school, where the district champ's the only team that moves on.
Right.
And so they're going to have a tournament at the end of the year. The district champion will move on to the state playoffs, and then they'll fill in with a couple at-large teams. And it's going to be interesting on the scheduling. And the whole point that we did conferences or we did districts is so we get a number of games. And now you don't have to play your teams in your district anymore. You just have to go to the district tournament.
So you have a district meeting now. You can have 8 teams, okay? You have your district meeting. Doesn't matter whether you play them or not. Your seeding is going to be based upon your point value.
Correct.
Which that's through max preps.
Yep.
Now, I as a coach, and I think you felt the same way, I want to play everybody. Because the second time I play them, I want to learn from the first time.
Exactly.
But you're going to have coaches that say, we're not going to play you. We want to hide everything, which say.
Yep. Well, then you can have a pro and a con. Maybe I want to play. I don't want to play a team because they have a 5-10 record.
Yeah.
Or maybe I do want to play them to boost my record.
Yeah.
So it's it's going to be a pros and cons to who you play. Yeah. And then if you don't think you're going to win your district title, you're trying to get the best record possible,
right.
So you can get one of the at-large bids. Right. And you can get a team that's like middle of the road and they win a district title, they're automatically in, and a team with 3 losses not get in. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting next year when they start it up. And some districts are very hard. Yeah. Like our for instance 8A football between Treasure Coast, Vero, Centennial, and Central. That's a tough district.
Well, they had a district down in Miami with Central. Carroll City, Northwestern, and Norland. All 4 of them made it. Northwestern, at one time during the year, was 3-5, and they won the state championship. They ran the table. They came in 3rd in their district. And ran the problem is with all sports, it's not once a week like football. You can get soccer games, like you got a situation today with the inclement weather.
Yep.
Baseball and softball, you're going to get a ton of rain outs. How do you figure that out? I mean, it's not going to be our responsibility.
That's what happened in the state tournament last year, too, for baseball. It got pushed back because of all the rain we had at the end of the year. And then now I think they played the state tournament in June. Everybody's already graduated. Most of the kids have graduated.
We went out to Fort Myers, and the crowds were the smallest I ever seen. And one of my friends' schools at. I says, there's nobody here. You guys are #1 in the state. He says, John, we've been out of school for 2 weeks. Not just the seniors, the whole school. The whole school. That's kind of hard on that. But I remember with the old days when you talked about that. You had 16 districts. You had 1 district champ. Sometimes you had an 18 district. It was tough getting out of an 18. It was very tough. But you had 1 district champ. You didn't have the runner-up, and you had a true champion. Back then we only had 3 or 4 classes. Now you have 9. I think they're cutting to 7 now. But looking at a crystal ball, what do you think the future of high school athletics is going to be?
That's a good call. I think this current system will be around for a little bit because the districts make sense. Because you just can't go, just like they were talking about, just doing it at large, and the top so many teams get in. I think you have to keep the districts because of the transportation, and go on from there. It's similar to football. It's just how is it going to work with the at large, and that's going to be interesting. What we were talking about before, where you get a team who tries to play middle range teams and boost their schedule to see if it's enough to get them in every year.
If it's enough to get it
and
in.
if it is, there are going to be a lot of teams doing that. But I think you're going to have to play some quality teams, some higher level teams, I think, maybe to get in.
And I think it's going to be harder for you to schedule too.
Yes.
I think so. If you say you have your district and everybody's local in your district, and you decide we don't want to play everybody.
And if a team, recruits and people know they do, and they get extra players, who's going to play that team?
You don't have to now.
No. So now they're going to have to go, and they're going to have to travel to get games. And I know last year when we were looking for football games, I had all the private schools up north trying to play us, and they wanted us to go travel to them. And Jacksonville and other locations, and that's too far.
And there's a reason why they wanted you to go to them.
Exactly.
You could figure that out. They're not getting games. Also, I think finances is going to play a part.
For the public schools, yes.
In the public school, are you going to end up, and again, not you, but high school sports in general, are we going to be like, okay, you got, Joe's print shop on the back of your shirt because this is what we need, Sponsorships. Is the state going to okay that? Because, are you going to be naming gyms and fields after people for sponsors? I mean, as much as I like going on Max Preps and seeing everybody, every 2 seconds there's a different ad. Is that the future? Is that what's going to be?
I know that Dave tried to pitch us for one of those jumbotrons in the gym. And it was like ads. You can make a lot of money off doing ads, but the ticket scared me away. It would be nice to have something like that, but the price is public schools can't afford those.
But you also look at look at what's going through the nation in high school sports. I mean, you're not done with your season in the state championship. You look, there's a bunch of football games on this weekend and next weekend. These are high school games. Well, didn't they win the state championship 2 weeks ago? Yes, but they're in a bowl series. They're getting money. Basketball, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they have the Tournament of Champions where they bring people up to Madison Square Garden and you're playing, and people are on
All-Star
TV.
games, too.
All-Star games.
Under Armour.
They're good and bad.
Army, Navy.
You know, who's wrong? Local all-star games and this and that. Now, if you do it for football, you got to do it for every sport, you know, or are you going to do it for baseball, or are you going to do it for softball? But are we prolonging the season? You know, one big objection that I always had with the FHSAA is they overlap too much. I mean, right now, team sports, you're playing 25 games, okay? You know, we had a proposal at the end, you know, at the end of my term, it says, why don't you cut it back to 22, count your preseason, that gives you 24, so now you're only one down. But give yourself a week between the fall and the winter, and the winter and the spring, just
Recover.
for everybody recovers, you know? If you're on a football team and you go to the state championship and then, you know, you're playing from August, December. You're missing a lot of basketball. Same thing if you do basketball, if you want to play something else. You know, and then you look at some of these other states, they're playing 35, 40 games, and you're playing 25. It's hard. I know the FHSA has a tough job. Like we talked about, I think the biggest issue outside of safety is the transfers. You know, I think a lot of times parents don't realize what they can do and what they can control. Okay, you and I are good golfers. We're at a different school. Okay, all we need is 2 more guys. We just won a state championship, right? You get, once the individual sports start doing that, that's going to be really tough to control on that, you know. But you know, I know the job you have. It's tough at times because you got to deal with everybody's egos. You got to deal with other AD's egos. You got to deal with people down at the district office, and it's tough. That's tough to manage because, you know, when it comes down to it, you're in charge. You know, and that's something I'm always going to respect. I'm very happy that you got the job. I mean, I knew you when you were at Port St. Lucie as a student, and I knew you for many, many years doing the wrestling tournaments. We had some fun with those wrestling tournaments, didn't we?
Yeah, but at least I'm kind of homegrown,
That's
you know,
true.
and I've been
That's
around
true.
for a while
Yeah.
in the county and the community, so I've watched it grow.
And that's big that you are community based, that you know everybody in the county, because you got to work with Parks and Recs.
I agree.
You got to work with St. Lucie County. You got to work with the city of Fort Pierce, the city of Port St. Lucie, and you got to work with them.
Exactly, and then you know, and I've seen where we came from to where we're at now, and you know, I know you know basically what we improved in and what we haven't. So it's nice to have a little bit of background.
And our time is up. See how fast this goes? I can put you back to work. You got to go watch some games tonight. Well, Pete, I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
You know I'm always here if I need you, and I'm going to be rooting for you. And welcome to everybody to another edition of Hey Coach.